In this video, we are going to talk about the tech industry in Malaysia and specifically when will it start to recover. As we know, tech stocks have not been doing the best, especially over the past couple of years. And of course, if you're going to invest, which ones are you going to focus on? Now, of course, not financial advice. We are just here to show you what the options are. And as another disclaimer, I and the team own some of the shares mentioned on the slide. So this is going to be a fun one. So keep watching until the end. So if you look at the Bursa Tech Index, it has been doing... It's one of the best performing ones, I have to say, even globally when you compare it to the Nasdaq. However, as you can see, it's not been doing very well. Now, if you look closely, I should have put arrows here, but I didn't. Apologies. Typically, the tech index moves, around 2 years of downturn and then another 2 years of upturn. So we are around at least 18 months into the tech downturn. In fact, maybe a little bit more, probably 20 months. The downturn started to happen, the current one, around late 2021. So on paper, we should be close to the end of the downturn. But again, these are just based on past data. And just because historically it's been 18 months to 24 months in the downturn, doesn't mean that this particular cycle will very accurately start to turn when the 24th month hits. It could well extend beyond that. Okay, just want to let you know that. And we also can corroborate this data by looking at the E&E exports for Malaysia. E&E exports is one of our largest. And Malaysia is very resilient, but you can see as well, it's typically 2 years up and 18 months to 2 years down. As of now, Malaysia has the best growth, and historically, they have not been as volatile as a lot of other countries. So our lows are never really the lowest, and our high are never really the highest. But we keep the course, and today we are leading. So where does actually Malaysia rank in terms of global and more specifically Southeast Asian semiconductors and tech, and more specifically tech manufacturing? So if you look globally, Malaysia is ranked, for a small country, pretty high up. I would say is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're 9th place, not bad. And then in terms of E&E, and then in terms of integrated circuits, Malaysia is actually number 5, just behind Singapore, right? I think with Taiwan and China, I think everybody knows how dominant they are. But we're not too far behind. If you think about it, IC exports for a country like China and Taiwan, which has a bigger economy than us, is only about 2 to 2.5 times bigger than Malaysia. We are tiny. Malaysia, okay, Taiwan has a smaller population, but I mean, countries like China, South Korea, you would expect the lead to be bigger, but apparently not. So well done, Malaysia. Now, one little fact is, there's going to be a lot of facts in this video, unfortunately, but it's useful, don't worry. 2011, Southeast Asia used to dominate about, in terms of integrated circuits, 30% globally. However, as of 2021, that has shrunk down to about 25%. So we're still significant, just a little bit of a drop over the past decade. When we look at the export between ASEAN countries, Malaysia is 2nd place, just behind Singapore. The gap for E&E is a bit bigger than the gap for integrated circuits. The integrated circuits one is pretty neck and neck, actually. So not bad, Malaysia. So, 25% of IC global sales come from ASEAN, just as a short summary. 15% are, of global back-end outputs coming from ASEAN countries. FDI into ASEAN over the past, from 2016 to 2021, increased by 60 billion plus US dollars. Malaysia and Singapore are quite ahead, compared to the rest. but Vietnam is kind of catching up. And Indonesia, even though it's the biggest country, actually has the least exposure. So when we look into Malaysia's role into ASEAN, we see something very interesting, right? The number of listed companies in ASEAN can be broken down by these different sectors. So EMS, ATE, and electronic/substrate components are the top three. And Malaysia actually dominates in all these three as well. We, by the way, have the most listed companies in all of ASEAN in terms of quantity. 70% of all ASEAN listed manufacturing tech-related companies is Malaysian. And of course, our top three as well is EMS, ATE, and electronic substrate component. Now, what is encouraging here is that even though, when you take it as a whole for ASEAN, EMS is the largest, EMS is actually the lowest margin one. It's the one that requires a lot of labor, not that much automation, and yeah, it's not easy to do that kind of business. But for Malaysia, we kind of flip it around. ATE is number one, which is great because ATE and automation tend to be higher value added and higher margins. So it's good that we're dominating in the right areas. There are other areas that we are also dominating in, which I will talk about later on, and it should keep you excited. So this, I think, is one slide that a lot of people want to know. They want to know who can be affected by the AI boom, the technology boom, or the chip making booms, right? And here is your list, okay? So for Apple, you have Inari and Pentamaster. Tesla, you have Genetec. Broadcom, Inari Vitrox. Okay, you can pause the video and go check out. Now, this is not comprehensive. I'm sure there are some that we missed out. For example, some of the Dyson guys, not here, maybe for good reason. But, this is a good start, right? If you want to analyze companies. So let's take a look at the breakdown of the value chain, right? Where do Malaysian companies actually sit into the semiconductor value chain? Now, this is probably one of the least known facts about Malaysia, but also one of the most amazing ones in my view. And that is, we are the only country in Southeast Asia that involves in IC design. So IC design has a lot of brain work required, something you unfortunately don't associate with Malaysia a lot. But here we are. We have two companies, right? Opstar, which listed about a year ago, and Skychip, which is a competitor to Opstar in some degrees. And we're the only ones there. This is potentially very high IP, high margin sort of business. If you've heard of ARM Holdings, we are not in that category, but we are in the vicinity, right? So that's very encouraging. No other countries have it. When you look at chip fabrication, which should be your foundries, your service providers, Malaysia is in there, DNEX, Frontcan, Kellington. Assembly and testing, this is where I think most of our companies will be at alongside EMS. This is where your Inaris, MPI, Unisem, KESM are for OSATs. Vision equipments, Vitrox, TT Vision, test handlers, Petamaster, MI, QES, etc. You can again pause the video to look at it closely. PCB manufacturing, we are also there. SMT assembly, we are also there through Aurelius and PIE. EMS, we are also there, obviously. PIE, Aurelius. And then last end customer, we have Cape EMS, DNO for LED lights for automotive companies, ATIMS, SKP Resources, etc., etc. So we are really in, especially since with Opstar and Skychip, we are almost in all these important parts of the entire chain. We are still small, don't get us wrong. We are no Taiwan, we are no China, but for our size, pretty impressive actually. Now, this is the last slide. Coming to the end of the video, but if you want to see some of the end products related to these different companies, not just Malaysia actually, within the region, take a pause. This is a very complicated slide, but take a pause and so you can see. And so what you can do is you can look at these different industrial end products, semis, smartphones, consumer electronics, PCs, data centers, networking, industrial, etc., etc. And then you can ask yourself, okay, which of these are high growth areas? And then from there, you can, filter out the companies you want to look at and begin to create a watch list and a potential investment profile for your portfolio. And hopefully, with this information, it has helped you speed up your decision-making process. Now, speaking of speeding up, actually before that, just to summarize everything, Malaysia has the highest and most resilient E&E growth in 2022. And, even true if you spread it out over the past 5-6 years. Many of the founders actually, American trained, right? Intel, HP, Agilent Technologies. These are companies that gave birth to the Malaysian semiconductor industry, which is an industry that's really not talked about enough, I would say. We also have the most diverse landscape, as I mentioned earlier on. We are in all, right? IC design, things like that. And the great part is, a lot of people complain about how Malaysia is not, moving out of the middle income trap, which is true. However, certain pockets of the Malaysian economy and the semiconductor is one of them. Semiconductor industry is one of them. By going into IC design, it's a clear signal to the rest of the world that Malaysia is trying to punch above its traditional weight. And one thing very interesting as well is that most of the FDI comes from US, Europe, and Japan, not so much from China. And part of the reason why we've managed to go up the value chain is precisely because of the US-China trade war. People are looking to find other sources, both Chinese and American companies, for chip designs, for all that. And so, while it may not be beneficiary for both US and China to be in the situation, certainly Malaysia, in this small area, has benefited. Now guys, if you are someone who is a bit lazy to do your own research for stocks, even though you are good enough, FIRL Pro is the perfect program for you. Some of the companies mentioned on the slides, we have actually done research reports on. These research reports, we don't do projections, we don't do price targets, but what we do is we give you a head start in terms of analyzing these companies. Again, is to shortcut your time. You might be a busy person, you may have kids, you have jobs, 2 jobs, whatever, but you still want to invest. And so how can you get the information as efficiently as quickly as possible? FIRL Pro is the program for you. These reports take no more than 15 minutes to read. I like to say it's 1 cup of coffee. And hopefully you'll find it valuable. And if you sign up for a program, after you pay the money, after 10 days, if you feel this is not really for you, we have a money back guaranteed, full refund. Just email us within the 10-day period. You can email us, you can actually send us a Instagram message or whatever, but preferably through email to hello@firl.co. Straight away, we will give you the refund, no questions asked. And if you want to get a taste of what some of these reports look like, head over to the free sample link, which you can find and get access to in the comments section and description. Regardless, guys, thanks for watching the videos. As always, let me know if you like this sort of content. There are a lot of other industries that we can cover in a similar manner, in very short, 20-minute segments or videos. And guys, thanks for the support. Peace. Bye-bye.